Today's topic is continuation of Ralph Waldo Emerson, Self-Reliance. We already discussed many topics under this title. Today, the remaining topics we will discuss. The first one is lack of self-reliant men. These types of ethics are needed in distinction society. Today, men have grown fearful. There are no great and perfect men in contemporary America. We are afraid of truth, afraid of fortune, afraid of death, and even afraid of each other. We want men and women who are able to renovate life and our social state. But we notice that most natures or their own wants have no ambition out of all proportion. They cannot satisfy practical force. Our housekeeping is mendicant, our arts, our occupations, our marriages, our religion, all are not chosen by us. Society has chosen them for us. We are parlor soldiers. Self-existence requires courage and determination to live without dependence on things that are external to the self. If our young men miscarry in their first enterprises, they lose all heart. If a young man fails in achieving his goals, he is disheartened. But he should not think that he has lost all chances. He has more chances to try with the exercise of self-trust. The next one is the power of self-reliance. Self-reliance is a great power and force. It can work revolution and offices and relations of men. It can show its impact in their religion, in their education, in their pursuits, in their modes of living, in their associations, in their property, and in their speculative views. Thus, self-reliance leaves its impact on almost every aspect of man's life. The next is true and false prayers. When do men pray? Prayer is the contemplation of the facts of life from the highest point of view. Prayer is a kind of soliloquy of a jubilant soul. It is the Spirit of God pronouncing His work as good, but prayer done as a means to achieve a private end is theft and meanness. Such a prayer is false and suppose dualism and not unity in nature and consciousness. If a person is at one with God, he will not beg for anything but will see prayer in all action. For example, the prayer of the farmer kneeling in his field to wed it. The prayer of the rower kneeling with the stroke of his oar are true prayers heard throughout the nature. Our regrets are false prayers. Here a quote, "Let not God speak to us, lest we die. Speak thou, speak any man with us, and we shall obey." Every new mind is a new classification. Next topic is traveling, a fool's paradise. Traveling fascinates men. The Americans are very fond of traveling. Their idols are Italy, England, Egypt and Greece. The soul is no longer a traveler. The wise man stays at home and when his necessities, his duties on any occasion call him from his house or into foreign lands, he is at home still and shall make men sensible by the expression of his countenance. That he goes the missionary of wisdom and virtue and visits cities and men like a sovereign and not like an interpoler or a valet. Travelling is agreeable for the purpose of arts, of study and benevolence. But he who travels for amusement travels away from himself. He grows old even in youth among old things. He carries ruins to ruin, therefore travelling is a fool's paradise. The rage of travelling is a symptom of a deeper unsoundness affecting the whole intellectual action. The intellect is vagabond and our system of education fosters restlessness. Our mind travels when our bodies like to stay at home. We imitate, and the travelling of the mind is nothing but full of imitation. In our minds, we often imitate others, that is, our houses are built with foreign taste, our shelves are decked with foreign ornaments, our opinions, our tastes, our faculties lean and follow the past, that the remote. The soul created the arts, and it was the artist who in his own mind sought this model. It was an application of his own thought to the thing to be done and the condition to be observed. Therefore, a man must not wander about and stay at home. He should not be an intellectual wanderer at least. The next one is need of self-reliance. A man should never imitate and should insist on himself. What's the need of copying the other and their models? Why the Americans should copy others? Beauty, convenience, grandeur of thought and quaint expression are as near to us as to any, and if the American artist will study with hope and love the precise things to be done by him, considering the climate, the soil, the length of the day, the wants of the people, the habit and form of the governments, he will create a house in which all these will find themselves fitted, and taste and sentiment will be satisfied also. The American must not be imitators. They should be self-reliant in matters of education, art and culture. Dependence on others needs to be ceased. Every great man is unique, and it is his maker who teaches him. The next one is give and take in society. It is wrong to think that society advances. It never goes ahead. It recedes as fast as one side as it gains on the other. No doubt it undergoes change continually. It is barbarous, it is civilized, it is Christianized, it is rich, it is scientific, but its change is not an improvement in the real sense. For everything that is given, something is taken. Society acquires new arts and loses old instincts. There is a strange contrast between the well-clad reading, writing, thinking American with a watch, a pencil and a bill of exchange in his pocket, and the naked New Zealander whose sole property is a club, a spear, a mat and an undivided small part of a shed to sleep upon. The civilized man has built a coach but has lost the use of his legs. He wears a beautiful watch on his wrist, but he has lost the skill of telling time by the sundial. Society is a wave which moves onward, but the water which is composed does not. The same particle does not rise from the valley to the ridge. In its unity is only phenomenal. The next one is property and self-reliance. People measure their esteem by what each one of them has and not on the basis of what that each is. But a civilized person is ashamed of his property when he develops a new respect for his own nature. Especially, he hates property when it comes to him accidentally by inheritance, by gift or by crime. Then he feels that it is not having. It does not belong to him. It has no root in him, and it merely lies there because no revolution or robber takes it away. The last one is self-reliance, a necessity. So, finally Emerson says that a person can become strong and self-reliant only when he avoids support and learns to stand alone. Man must use all that is called a fortune. Winnings received out of gamble should be avoided. Man should deal with cause and effect, the chancellors of God. A political victory, a rise of rents, the recovery of the sick, or the return of a friend or some other favorable event may raise the spirits, and man then thinks that good time has come. But he should not believe all this. Nothing can bring peace but the self. So one must believe as one's own self. So that is the great message he wants to convey through this essay. So overall we have seen essential messages for our life through this essay, Self-Reliance by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Here my next topic is Walt Stevens' poem The Emperor of Ice Cream. About Walt Stevens, he was an American modernist poet. He was born in Reading, Pennsylvania United States in the year 1879. He spent most of his life working as an executive for an insurance company in Hartford, Connecticut. He won the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry for his collected poems in the year 1955. He was a master stylist employing an extraordinary vocabulary. His poems are the supreme fusion of the creative imagination and objective reality. His famous works: in 1923 he published the Harmonium Collections. It contains many poems, many successful poems, and another 3 collections are The Man with the Blue Guitar, Transport to Summer, The Auroras of Autumn. So these are the another 3 collection of Wallace Stevens, and among these 3 collection, The Auroras of Autumn is a very famous one, and it gives a great name to this person. His famous poems are Anecdote of the Jar, Sunday Morning, The Snowman, and many. And he suffered from stomach cancer, and at last he died in the year 1955. Here now, introduction on the poem The Emperor of Ice Cream. Actually, the poem situated in the early 20th century. It was published in the year 1922. The place, that is the poem, situated in the residence of a deceased woman in an American city. It is uncertain whether the residence is a house or an apartment, so it is not clearly mentioned in this poem. Apparently, people of Latin American ancestry live in the neighborhood, and they used to work in that cigar factory to earn money. So this poem consists of 2 stanzas. One is situated in the kitchen where the ice cream is being made. The another is bedroom where the dead body, that is corpse, awaits decent covering. That is the dead body for waiting for its funeral. So here kitchen symbolizes the life and bedroom symbolizes the death. Here first stanza. Call the roller of big cigars, the muscular one, and bid him whip in kitchen cups concupiscent curds. Let the wenches dwaddle in such dress as they are used to wear, and let the boys bring flowers in last month's newspapers. Let be final of seam, the only emperor is the emperor of ice cream. Here the explanation. The narrator calls for a muscular cigar roller to make ice cream to be served to visitors, those who are attending the funeral for the deceased women. In earlier times, a funeral frequently took place in the home of the deceased. So, here the wake, that is funeral, takes place in the women's own house rather than in a church, and the preparations are inexpensive. Besides paying their last respects to the dead person, visitors often ate, drank, and they used to tell stories. Thus, a wake was sometimes a festive occasion. Here I mention festive occasion. In one aspect, it's a disrespect to the deceased women. But in another aspect, we have to realize that we could not stop death. No one stopped death. So after all this, life must go on. That we have to accept and realize. So, the perception of the world differs from person to person. For example, the painters could paint the same scene. If we suppose to give the scene like a field of the flower. But in the outcome, we can notice all the paintings are different in some way. So, the world differs from person to person. The poet speaks in the voice of a man addressing the neighbors to carry out the funeral in certain ways. It is common in some communities to satisfy the dead in this way with food and drink after a time of mourning. This is common in tribal communities, and it is suggested that Stevens has based the poem on his experience of Canadian tribes or maybe on some Red Indian American tribe. In this poem, the narrator tells what will happen before and during the funeral. There will be the ice cream, and men from the neighborhood, they brought flowers in the trees and newspapers, and the male and the female visitors will probably they embrace each other, they are flirt. The dead woman will lie in her bedroom under a bedsheet that covers her face and body but exposes her hot feet. The visitors will occupy themselves mainly with socializing and having fun, not with mourning the loss of a neighbor. So the youngsters they want to seize the day, seize that opportunity. So here they used this funeral of this deceased woman, that is the woman's death, present an opportunity for her acquaintances to hold a party. Here the concupiscent curse means that is appetizing sensual curse that will constitute the ice cream. Here the second stanza, poem lines. Take from the dresser of deal, lacking the 3 glass knobs, that sheet on which she embroidered fantails once, and spread it so as to cover her face. If her horny feet protrude, they come to show how cold she is and dump. Let the lamp affix its beam. The only emperor is the emperor of ice cream. Here the explanation. In this stanza, the poet explained the poor condition of the deceased women. Here they want to take a sheet or any cloth to cover her body, but the drawer lacking that 3 glass knobs, so it shows how she was poor. The condition of her poor situation, and at last they took one embroidered cloth. It was embroidered by that deceased woman. she embroidered that birds into the cloth, and they used that cloth to spread her body, but it has covered only her face. The remaining parts, that is, it could not be covered, so her heart, feet is not covered by the cloth. So it shows how cold she is and dumb. Here the lamp is the symbol of the light of life that shines on those who live for the moment. Ice cream melts quickly, as does time and the opportunities it presents. So one must eat, drink and be merry before the opportunity passes. Life is like ice cream, the ruling standard of life, and its reality is the emperor of that fact itself. Therefore, enjoy life as you had enjoy ice cream itself. The title reflects that human beings are no more resistant to death than ice cream is to the sun. So, the first stanza is about making the ritualistic preparation for the ceremony, while the second stanza discusses how to handle the dead body. So in both sections, the speaker fixates between reality and appearances. Here, reality dispels the magic of illusions. Perhaps this relates to death, with the speaker expressing the way that death as life's only real certainty and strips away any world of appearances that people might construct for themselves during their earthly lives. So this poem seems to argue for the importance of living life to its fullest, because death is inevitable. Savoring joy and pleasure, eating the delicious ice cream, is this all that really means. It really matters. The poem takes place at a wake, but everything about the speaker's instruction for the wake celebrates the sensuous pleasures of being alive. In particular, the poems focus on ice cream, foregrounds the importance of sensory enjoyment. So things like power and authority are fictions. One of Stephen's favorite words to describe how humans interpret the world. So embracing everyday lived experience is a kind of way to embrace the only reality that there actually is, the senses. Here, the only emperor is the emperor of ice cream. So to sum up, all our disguises, anxieties, empires, missed opportunities are distractions from the big figure. What really matters is how we enjoy life and live each day to the fullest. Emperor, wench or dead woman, no one can overcome the true final of life, that is death. Thank you.